Hello everyone, welcome back warrior students. So yesterday someone of our community reached out to me and asked if sword spec attacks can proc WindFury and the other way around, so can WindFury proc sword spec. And he asked me if you can proc both a WindFury and a sword spec with the same attack. And first I thought I knew the answer to this question. But then when I attempt to answer him back, I realized, wait a second, I don't 100% know the answer to this. So I searched the internet for some answers, and what I found there was kind of new to me and a little bit confusing. And it definitely needed further testing just to make sure that the informations are correct. So I had a little chat and did a little testing with some shamans, and one actually wanted to come on the show today. So give a round of applause for Contaju. So hello Contaju, how are you doing today? And thanks for coming onto the show.
Hi Contra, I'm doing fine, thanks for having me.
So yeah, as warriors and shamans we are working very well together, and that's why it's important for us to share information about our tools, how they work, and about the mechanics. And yeah, that's why I invited you to the show today to tell us some facts about everyone's favorite totem.
Yeah, you warriors love my WindFury Totem, even though most of you don't really understand how it works for you.
Yeah, I thought that WindFury is like one extra attack, like a white hit that generates some rage, more than a white hit most of the time, because it is calculated with some bonus attack power that you can even improve in your enhancement talent tree, I think. And yeah, it can proc off about like everything I do as warrior, right? Like hamstring, mortal strike, anything, really. Or
Well, yes and no, Contra. So my WindFury Totem buff that gets applied to your main hand weapon is, like you said, an extra attack that deals a little bonus damage. However, it can only proc on white hits or abilities that consume white hits and transform it into a yellow, like your famous heroic strike cleave.
oof, what? So yeah, this is disappointing to hear, Contaju. But wasn't there a hamstrings back in the day in like vanilla in classic, where you used hamstring basically to fish for WindFury procs just because you were too lazy to use slam rotation?
Yes, Contra, but that was back in the day, silly. Now that we are in the Burning Crusade, it's different, and it only procs of whites and things like heroic strike, cleave, or sword spec.
Oh really? So it can proc of sword spec as well because it's a white hit? Wow, that's crazy. So sword spec is more or less the must then, if you have a WindFury Totem in your group.
A shaman Contra, it's called shaman. We do more than only place down WindFury Totems. Don't ever reduce a shaman like that.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to...
It's okay, we shamans are used to that. You probably didn't meant it in a bad way.
Yeah, no, I didn't, sorry again. But interesting that Cleave still can proc WindFury, so it's better than I thought even, because it gives you two chances actually of proccing WindFury or a sword spec, but most importantly WindFury, so it has a way higher chance to proc extra attacks than if you would do like an auto attack and a mortal strike, because auto attack mortal strike is more rage efficient and more damage most of the time as well, I think, unless the white hits from the cleave wouldn't have glanced, but now it gets even better. This is why I do way more damage if I just spam cleave in AoE than using like a smart rotation sometimes. But another question, so can WindFury proc a WindFury? I know that sword spec cannot proc sword spec.
No, a WindFury cannot proc a WindFury. That would be way too overpowered, Contra, haha. But since your sword specs can proc a WindFury, it can happen that sword spec procs WindFury, and then the WindFury procs Swordspick, and so on and so forth. So you have a chance to do infinite amounts of damage. What is kinda funny if you ask me?
Alright, that's some great information, so I kinda have to think about that for some time now first. Okay, but last question, Contaju. So, what do you think about two-hand enhancement, Shaman?
To-hand enhancer. Well, guess what? WindFury YOLO and rock and roll stupid.
Okay, remind me to never do this again. This was some great information, but this Contaju girl, I don't know. Yeah, kind of strange. And by the way, I'm pretty sure he is not a girl. But anyway, so let's get to the end of the video. First of all, I'm super ashamed that I put out there combos and tricks you can do that you can do if you have a sword, but you cannot do if you have a mace or an axe. So everyone who used an axe and a mace and tried to use those tricks in a raid scenario or anywhere, I have to apologize, and yeah, I'm very sorry about that. However, the practice time you have put into those combos is not lost, because as soon as you get a sword, you can use those methods again. Like then you can actually use a heroic strike trick and tornado cleave, all that good stuff you can use with a sword. However, you cannot use it with a mace, you cannot use it with an axe. Some of my videos in which I mentioned that you can get those procs with WindFury, like you can do a heroic strike trick with WindFury, you can do tornado cleave with WindFury. Those videos have like 8 and 9,000 clicks, so I'm pretty shocked that no one corrected me on this. So there are two possibilities. First is almost everyone knows this, and therefore no one really thought that it's necessary to correct me, because they think I just phrased this wrong and I didn't meant that WindFury can proc it. And the other possibility is that almost no one is aware of this fact, because last expansion we had was last game we played, most of us, was Classic WoW Vanilla, and in Classic you can proc WindFury with hamstring or anything really. So yeah, maybe most people didn't know that in Burning Crusade this changed, and yeah, but anyways, let's summarize this and draw a conclusion. What is the end result of this? So first of all, for us sword users, this doesn't change anything, because like I said, we can still activate heroic strike trick with sword spec, and we can still activate tornado cleave with sword spec. And then again, our sword specs can proc WindFuries, and our sword specs can be procced via anything we press. So at the end of the day, we still can proc WindFuries from any button or any attack, pummel, hamstring, thunder armor, anything. And the special thing about cleave still is that you have 2 chances of proccing WindFury, other than if you would do auto attack mortal strike or auto attack slam, which would be only 1 chance to proc WindFury and 2 chances to proc sword spec. And cleave is 2 chances for sword spec and 2 chances for WindFury. So for sword this doesn't really change anything, but for axe users and mace users this changes a lot. First of all, we cannot do any fun combo, like we cannot do like fun crazy methods, which would be heroic strike trick, which is a really crazy mechanic for World of Warcraft. We cannot use tornado cleave, which is super unfortunate, because with tornado cleave, if we get lucky with this method, we can this is like the end potential for our DPS. Without getting out more cleaves than every 3 seconds, we will never be able to compete with dual wield, unless we get absolutely insanely lucky with WindFury procs. And one more thing at the end that concerns me a little bit is that if this knowledge is super rare, which could be the case, what about the calculation softwares? What about the calculation softwares like simulation softwares in the internet that are used to calculate DPS? What about them? Are those calculating X and mace spec DPS like they could proc WindFuries with Botted Strike and Slam? Because if yes, obviously Axes and Maces sim a lot better than they actually should, especially compared to Sword. So yeah, that's it for this video. Again, I'm very sorry for everyone who fought for my false informations and tried his ass off to perform heroic strike tricks and tornado cleaves with axes and maces. But yeah, at the end of the day, like I said, this practice is not, the practice time is not gone. When you get a sword, you didn't waste anything. And next video will be about how to handle situations in which you have a lot of haste, because there are some misconceptions about that topic as well. So we are going to tackle those and we are going to get them out of the way so we can come closer and closer to perfecting our rotation. Until then, take care.